Ladies and gentlemen, many of you may know that the G7 started this weekend. And I did see like a little clipping of Biden over there with the European world leaders, the ones that got high IQs and come together and figure out ways to mess the world up even more. So, a recession in the US and Europe is increasingly likely. And this is a warning from the economists. Mm-mm-mm. So the risk of the US and Europe sliding into a recession have picked up sharply. Now, they're saying this recession will be global. It's going to be a lot of countries around the globe going to a recession. Economists have warned ahead of the G7, which started this past weekend, summit that begins in Bavaria on both sides of the Atlantic told Financial Times that they have become increasingly pessimistic following the Federal Reserve's decision to go big on rate raises to counter soaring inflation, on mounting concerns over European gas supplies and the run up to winter. So, mm-mm-mm. What used to be a risk has now turned into a base case. Goldman Sachs doubled the risk of the US entering a recession this year from 15 to 30%, with a 48% probability of a recession over a 2 year period. All right, so the US recession risks are uncomfortably high and rising. I would put them at a 40% rate in the next 12 months or more. Less even odds over 24. And they said to avoid a recession, the global economy needs a bit of luck for the economic fallout from the pandemic and Russia's aggression in Ukraine, along with some deaf policy making by the Fed and other central banks. G7 leaders will discuss the state of the global economy at their working lunch on Sunday, with inflation set to dominate the proceedings. Ukraine President Zelensky will take part remotely by video link on Monday's talks, which will focus on the crisis prompted by Russia's war. The global economic outlook has been darkening since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February, that sent energy and food prices spiraling. Over the course of June, central banks from Washington to Zurich raise rates by bigger margins than markets had expected, signaling that they would do whatever it takes to rein in on surging inflation, even if it's a staggering uh, recession, because they're saying it's going to be a tough one, being that both economies over in Europe and US are really not in the best shape. Gas supply to Europe has become more uncertain following Russia's decision to cut flows to many countries, supply chain disruption resulting from China's zero policy continue to weigh in on growth prospects. The Fed's rise prompted private sector economists to downgrade their U.S. forecasts for 2023 by the biggest margin so far this year, with even larger downgrades than those made at the start of the Ukraine Russia war, according to the Consensus Economic, which tracks growth and inflation forecasts. Peter Hooper, an economist for Deutsche Bank and a former Fed official who in April became one of the first on Wall Street to forecast a recession, warned that the inflation picture in the near term does not look good. meaning the central bank may need to raise rates even more aggressively than currently expected. The bank has since pulled forward with a contraction called to the middle of the year. Well, I mean, I just don't think all of this interest rate stuff is going to amount to nothing, but it will push both continents into a recession a lot sooner. I really do believe that. So, the economists also cut sharply their 2023 outlook for Eurozone, the UK, and 8 in 10 other countries and regions tracked by the consensus economic. Neil Shearing, a chief economist at the Capital Economics, said the recession risks are highest in Europe, where the inflation induced cost of living crisis is coupled with possible gas shortages. Like in the US, the UK, and Eurozone are also dealing with inflation and at multi-decade highs. So the ones that are really hit the worst by inflation is the US, France, Eurozone, Italy, Spain, Germany, and UK. So the UK and the Bank of England is expected to raise interest rates, even though it is expecting the economy to stagnate over the next 2 years. The big picture is that the economy may be fractionally larger this time of the year than it was before the pandemic. So the forecasts just don't look good. However, Fed Chair Jerome Powell acknowledged this week that congressional hearings that the U.S. recession was certainly a possibility, while pledging that the central bank's commitment to restoring price stability is unconditional. So now they're just sitting around talking about the inevitable. They know this recession is here, and I'm sure it's there over in Europe as well. You know how it is. Every sitting president hate to tell you that there's a recession, especially Biden, being that he is really down in the polls. So any announcement of a recession is sure to tank the opportunities of a win for the Democratic Party, which they would rightfully deserve, but it would ensure that the midterms would definitely be lost. So I understand why they're trying to avoid this at all cost, but I think it's inevitable. You can't avoid this. And if it's going to be on a global scale, most likely will hit around the same time for all of these nations all over the globe. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.